So you've submitted the divorce papers, huh? Well, that's fine. I'm going to marry Sandra anyway. I don't need a housekeeper like you anymore. As I was about to leave the house, my husband said this, laughing it off as a parting shot. The trigger for this goes back a few days. Oh, what's this? While I was cleaning my husband's room, a photo fell out from between the books, so I picked it up. I thought, what is this? The photo showed a familiar woman and my husband smiling together, with my husband holding a child about 3 years old. The woman had worked at the same company as my husband and me, and had left for marriage, so the child must be theirs. I convinced myself that the child was just naturally friendly and not shy around strangers. As I continued cleaning, I stumbled upon something unbelievable. It was a completed divorce form, and I was convinced my husband was cheating. Several days passed, and when I confronted my husband with the photo, he tried to make excuses, as expected. But I wouldn't let him. I decided to get the help of someone to thoroughly expose my husband's true colors. I am Michelle Cooper, 37 years old. My maiden name is Hill. Let's start with a bit of my past. It goes back 14 years when I graduated from university and got a job at a leading apparel company in the countryside. Congratulations to all the new employees on joining us. We hope you will help us create many products unique to this region. First, learn the work from your seniors and gradually get accustomed to it. After the president's greeting, it seemed that the seniors who would mentor the new employees had already been decided, and they greeted us as well. Michelle, I will be your mentor, Jenny. Feel free to ask me anything if you have any questions. Yes, thank you very much. I look forward to working with you. I was attracted to this company because it was reputed to be deeply rooted in the region, and the president's speech made their goals clear. Michelle, how are you finding your work? Yes, thanks to Jenny, I can work with peace of mind. That's good to hear. Don't rush and take your time to learn the job. Working there, I realized that not only was the president focused on growing the company, but he also cared deeply for his employees. He always offered words of encouragement, which made me feel very secure. The president is amazing, isn't he? He supports and follows up with every employee like that. Thanks to him, everyone is able to work energetically. You think so too, Jenny? The president really is incredible. It wasn't just me who felt reassured by the president's support. Hearing my seniors' comments made me realize what a great and generous person the president was. As time passed, I found myself over 30 years old, working diligently under the president's leadership. Then one day, a new employee joined the company as a mid-career hire. I'm Brian Cooper, and I'll be working with you from today. Nice to meet you all. This man would later become my husband, Brian. At the time, he was 25, and his refreshing smile made him quite popular among the female employees. But Brian's good reputation wasn't just because of his looks. Michelle, could you help me with something? Yes, of course. What do you need help with? It's this part here. This part. You see, Brian Cooper was very enthusiastic about his work, actively asking senior employees questions to learn and improve. Wow, Brian, you're doing great. You've managed to handle the job I thought you all by yourself now. It's all thanks to you and the other seniors who have been guiding me so meticulously. Brian was quick to learn and soon became capable of handling tasks on his own, which, given his attitude towards work, might have been expected. I was impressed by his serious approach to work and found it enjoyable to work alongside someone with whom I could have meaningful conversations. Initially, I saw Brian, who was 5 years my junior, as nothing more than a cute junior. Do you have a boyfriend, Michelle? Why do you ask all of a sudden? No, I don't have a boyfriend. Then, would you go on a date with me? What? Are you sure you want to date me? I'm a 30-year-old woman, you know? I don't think of you as an old woman at all. I think you're a wonderful woman. It was embarrassing yet delightful to be spoken to so directly. As we continued to go out on dates, after several outings, Brian looked at me seriously and said, Miss Hill, no, Michelle, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? Really? Me? Yes, I mean, I want it to be you. I'm happy to hear that. I look forward to our future together. And so we started dating. 2 years later, Michelle, will you marry me? Yes, I'd love to. Brian proposed to me, and I accepted. As we talked about our marriage and planned our future, the time came for me to meet his parents. And a surprising fact came to light. We're going to meet your parents today. I'm a bit nervous. You don't have to be so nervous. You know my father well. Do I? Have I met your father before? Well, you'll understand once you meet him. Puzzled by his words, I arrived at his family's home to meet my in-laws, and I immediately understood what he meant. Wait, are you the company president? What, Brian? You hadn't told her yet? Well, I thought there was no need to flaunt that I'm the president's son. I figured it would come out eventually. I had thought Brian and the president shared a surname and looked somewhat alike, so rumors had circulated in the company that they might be related. But to think it was actually true? I was genuinely surprised to learn you two are father and son. So, Brian, does that mean you'll eventually take over the company? Yes, that's the plan. There's still a lot to learn, though. Don't feel obliged to treat us any differently at work because of this revelation. Continue interacting with us as you always have. Understood. Even after the marriage meeting, we smoothly proceeded with our wedding preparations, and a year later, when I was 33 and Brian was 28, we were happily married. I thought, but what about work? After getting married, my first thought was about my career. I love my job and find it fulfilling, so I want to continue working, but I also have to consider my husband's future. Hey, Brian, do you want me to be a stay-at-home wife, or would you prefer if we both worked? Do you have any preference? What brought this on? I don't really have a preference. You should do whatever you prefer. It's a relief to hear you say that. Thank you so much. I had been conflicted about whether to support my husband in his career or pursue my own career aspirations. Thankfully, my husband told me to take my time and choose what I felt was right for me. After several weeks of careful consideration, I reached a decision. I've decided to quit my job after all. You can focus on your work, Brian, and I'll take care of the home. Is that so? All right then. I'll leave the house to you. Yes. With that, I resolved to leave my job and start a new phase of life. Having observed my husband at work and during our dating period, I felt secure and content in our marriage life. However, things started to change 4 years into our marriage. Little by little, I began to feel more troubled in our seemingly mundane life. Sometimes I would meet with my former senior colleague, Jenny, to seek advice. I decided to focus on homemaking to support Brian's career, but after 4 years of marriage, the loneliness from not having children and the lack of quality time with my husband has been hard. You were always so dedicated and achieved great results at work. Maybe that's why you feel a lack of fulfillment just managing household affairs. Hmm, perhaps you're right. As for children, they're blessings, so it's best not to rush and let things take their natural course. You should talk with your husband about these matters. And if it's hard to do so, you can always talk to me. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It was good to talk to my senior. What would have happened if I kept all this to myself? Talking it out helped me decide not to rush about having children and consider discussing returning to work with my husband. This conversation eased my mind, and I hoped we could return to a peaceful married life. One day, while cleaning my husband's room, a photo slipped out from between the books. Picking it up, I was shocked. I thought, could it be? The photo showed a familiar face and my husband holding a child. I thought, this is Sandra, isn't it? I knew her because she was a former junior colleague at my workplace. She was 7 years younger than me, cunning, and good at flattering men. I had never had a good impression of her, especially since she had married another man and left the company before I married Brian. Why, then, was there a photo of my husband holding a child alongside her? The child, a girl around 3 years old, seemed to be dressed for a baptism celebration. I thought maybe they just met by chance and she let him hold her child because the kid doesn't shy away from strangers. Refusing to accept reality, I desperately resumed cleaning, only for my heart to sink at the next discovery. I thought, is this a divorce form? So, this photo. The divorce form already had my husband's name written on it. Faced with this undeniable reality, I knew enough to understand the whole story. I thought, what should I do now? Knowing I couldn't leave things as they were, I decided to plan my next steps. After some thought, I reached out to someone for advice. A few days later, an opportunity to talk about the photo with my husband arose. I found this photo while cleaning your room the other day. What's this about? That is. You seem quite close to Sandra here, and the child seems to be quite attached to you. What's the meaning of this? Well, it was just a coincidence. We ran into each other and got nostalgic. The kid is cute, and we thought it would be nice to have a photo for memories. With that, my husband attempted to deny any wrongdoing and play innocent. I didn't want to believe just based on the photo alone, and it seemed difficult to make Brian admit to infidelity by confronting him with that evidence alone. As I was pondering this, we had a visitor at home. It was my senior colleague. Jenny, thank you so much for coming over. It's no problem at all, don't worry. I've gathered solid evidence. The person I had contacted a few days ago for advice was indeed my senior. Jenny, why are you here? And what do you mean by evidence? Brian, you've really done something terrible, haven't you? It's quicker if you see it for yourself. Look at this. With that, Jenny spread out numerous photos in front of us. They showed my husband and Sandra being overly affectionate at work, including hugging and kissing, clearly indicating an intimate relationship. Sandra was supposed to have left the company a long time ago, yet she frequently visited the office afterward. And you, Brian, were all too happy to have her hanging around you. Oh, well, that's consulting Jenny was a bit of a gamble for me. Since Sandra had left the company, the likelihood of her meeting with my husband at work seemed slim. I thought that consulting a senior colleague might not necessarily lead to gathering evidence due to the circumstances. However, it turned out that Sandra frequently visited the company and interacted with my husband. Jenny, thank you so much. Your help has been invaluable. Don't mention it. After you contacted me, I reached out to others who might be willing to help, and thankfully everyone was cooperative. I see. It was through leveraging the internal network at work that we managed to gather evidence of my husband's infidelity. It might have been somewhat fortunate that Sandra kept visiting the company, allowing us to collect the evidence. No way. Why has this happened? Saying that, my husband appeared to be in panic. With the evidence of his affair laid out, it must have felt impossible to deny any longer. I decided to deliver another blow by revealing a certain fact. Oh, by the way, about the divorce papers with your name on them that I found the other day, I've already filled in my name and submitted them. What? Don't mess with me. Why would he get angry at this point? If he didn't want a divorce, he shouldn't have prepared divorce papers and cheated in the first place. That's not all. I'll be filing for compensation, so be prepared. Goodbye. With that, I left the house. As I did, I could hear my husband's retort. Do whatever you want. I'll be marrying Sandra, so I don't need someone like you who's no better than a housekeeper. It's pathetic that he could only spit out such parting shots. Besides, remarrying Sandra might not go as smoothly as he thinks. But my revenge wouldn't end there. Hey, Michelle, what the heck is going on? A few days later, my ex-husband contacted me, sounding desperate. Why all the panic? Can't you calm down and explain? How can I stay calm? The landlord contacted me saying I need to vacate the apartment quickly. Is this your doing? Dad. Yes, it is. What? Don't joke with me? I wasn't joking at all. It was inevitable, but I thought he seemed to need a proper explanation. That apartment was bought for us to live in together, right? What are you saying now? We don't need to state the obvious. No, it's crucial. Remember, there were rent payments after we bought it? I hope you can understand why you need to vacate it now. What are you talking about? I thought all the rent and utilities were being paid with my money. Since you weren't working, you couldn't have paid them, right? You thought that, didn't you? What do you mean? Even though I quit my job, it didn't mean I had no income. I was doing a side job within a range that didn't interfere with household chores. So what? Seems like he still doesn't get it. It looks like I have to spell it out for him. Using the experience I gained working at your father's company, I started an online apparel business, and it went well. I was able to pay for everything with my own money without using yours. What? So you're saying that after you left, payments were made for this apartment? It looks like he finally understands. Even though he left the household finances to me, it's appalling that he never considered such an obvious yet crucial matter. To think he was under the impression he had been paying all along is astonishing. That's ridiculous. Do something about it. No way, we're divorced, and since I won't be living in that apartment anymore, I have no obligation to pay for it. If you want to stay, figure it out yourself. But my ex-husband murmured weakly. If he doesn't plan to pay with his own money, then he has no choice but to leave. Well, that's no concern of mine. Is that everything? Then I'm hanging up. With that, I firmly ended the call with my ex-husband. A few days later, I was contacted by my senior who informed me that the president wanted to see me. It was important, so I agreed to meet in person after arranging a suitable time. A week later, I visited my former company for the first time in a while at the president's request to have a discussion in his office. Excuse me. Upon entering, I saw my ex-husband and his mistress were also present. I've been reading for you. Sorry for calling you out like this. No, but why are Brian and Sandra here? My ex-husband looked down with a grim expression. When I questioned their presence, the president explained why he had called me. I recently found out the reason for your divorce with Brian. I thought it was necessary to settle things properly. I'm truly sorry for what my foolish son has done. No, please, it's not your fault, Mr. President. Please, raise your head. As I said this, the president looked sternly at my ex-husband and his mistress and began to speak. Indeed, the ones who really should be apologizing to Michelle are you two. Michelle, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. Michelle, I truly apologize for everything. Intimidated by the president's authority, both offered their apologies to me. I never knew the usually kind president could be so imposing when angered. But why apologize now? I understand that they wouldn't have apologized if you hadn't spoken up. Hearing this, the president sighed and shared more. I was unaware of the reason behind your divorce at first. It's embarrassing but true. Whenever I asked Brian, he would avoid eye contact as if hiding something. I sensed something was wrong, so I talked to Jenny, who was close to you, and other employees for more information. I see. With that, the situation became clear to me. My ex-husband's affair and the existence of a child were the reasons for our divorce, and now the president was fully aware of it. Dad, please don't be so mad. It was just a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness? Are you kidding me? I thought it was clear that my ex-husband had chosen the wrong way to defend himself. The president values community and personal relationships highly and despises betrayal above all. Being his son, he should have known that better than anyone else. Enough. Someone like you is not needed in this company. You're fired. But, Dad, please give me another chance. Despite being declared fired, my ex-husband pleaded with the president, who remained unmoved and continued. Shut up. Don't try to use your familial relationship now. I no longer consider you my son. And I won't be providing any financial support either, so you'll need to figure things out on your own. But the president made his position clear with such authority that my ex-husband had no response and just hung his head in defeat. I thought, right, I still need to tell him about that. I had suspicions about my ex-husband and his mistress, but had not yet shared them, thinking they wouldn't believe me or would just laugh it off. Now, however, seemed like the right time. Hey, Brian, about the child you have with Sandra, I think you should get a DNA test to see if the child is really yours. What? Wait, Michelle, why would you suddenly suggest something like that? My statement surprised my ex-husband and visibly panicked his mistress. Your reaction, Sandra, suggests you know something about this. Sandra, what's going on? Nothing. Don't save your things, Michelle. It's strange if you think about it. You had retired from work for marriage before Brian and I even got married. I divorced my previous husband. The child came after I got involved with Brian. Sandra had been known for being too friendly with men and for her active social life, even when she was working with us. It was hard to believe her explanation given her history. If you're so sure the child is Brian's, then there's no harm in being open about it. What happens next is up to Brian. I'm just offering advice, not forcing you to do anything. What do you mean by that? Sandra looked frustrated, and my ex husband watched her with a look of suspicion. Michelle, thank you for coming today. I truly apologize for the inconvenience. No, I feel relieved too. Thank you. I left the president's office after our conversation. Days later, my ex husband contacted me to say that he had the child tested, and as I had suggested, the child was not his. Just like you said, the child isn't mine. That's your business, not mine. Turns out Sandra didn't even know who the father was due to her affairs. She thought I was the best option since I had money. Well, it's good that you know the truth now. It seemed my ex husband was just being used by his mistress for his resources. If things had continued as they were, he might have ended up exploited without ever realizing it. He thanked me for my advice and mentioned that he and Sandra had separated. Later, my ex husband found a new job and began to pay the compensation, albeit in installments. As for me, Michelle, I'm grateful you've decided to come back to work with us. I have high expectations for you. Let's do our best together. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking forward to working with you again. Despite our past familial connection, my relationship with the president had always been positive, and I had proven myself capable at work before my departure. Being rehired felt like a new beginning. It's great to be working with you again, Michelle. Remember how we used to collaborate on great products? It feels nostalgic. Indeed, let's keep up the good work. The president and my colleagues value me fairly, making my job enjoyable. I look forward to continuing to work hard and live a fulfilling life with them.